Vitaly friends, I am Vitaly Porta at the Kremlin. You have not yet decided. I am at risk of changing the rhetoric of American President Donald Trump in terms of the Russian-Ukrainian war. Koalichny President of Russia, the head of the Rada in the Russian Federation Metro Medvedev. About the fact that you can conduct a direct conflict between the received states and the Russian Federation you save. What rank of pogroms with the received staff nuclear war? Over Trump, Medvedev is making fun of you and says that his words are the butt of an effective Ukraine and in social measures. And they are not needed. In an hour, the rhetoric of the American president may change. In order for the image of the president from the received states of Medvedev to help, by jealous of him with the president of Ukraine and Poland. We are perfectly well, of course, even from the point of view of the Kremlin of the greatest image, as well as food for the people. For which it is possible to follow the Rivna of Donald Trump, then Dick Medvedev is in a very good way. And the press secretary of the President Peskov, taking a more protective and peaceful position. Peskov is on his own to talk about a good person of the bag and to the viru between the President of the United States and the Russian Federation. Insisting on the fact that Putin is ready to make a special oyster and Zelensky to regulate torture. Even before the completion of the Russian-Ukrainian guilt and Medvedev, I still adore that the guilt ends without Putin's direct propositions of the Russian capital. Those places were requested by the Ukrainian delegation to hold such a summit. Peskov, calling them unacceptable for the Russian. So, Peskov Tesh is displayed, and says that Russia, and there are no such pop creatures, although we still know that it happens. The torture is disgraceful, and the torture is that in order to take this away from the risk of the rhetoric of the American president, Putin's own thinking is needed. And the decision of the Russian president is not in a snake-like mood about the statements of the American president up to that moment. President Trump did not allow the social boundaries to be specific, and I really praised the Russian political and such specific ideas and stats of temples to Ukraine, and extremely real, but sanctions against the Russian economy. I'm still with Donald Trump, who said you and your betters before Putin for a month. The Russian president has an E and an hour. And maybe you're out of reaction, I'm still specifically really going to be. For the practice of Donald Trump's duels in Astana, his stay at the president's landing, with those received in the state. We have already marked another month, maybe soon up to 2 or 2. And with such a rank Putin can be out of reaction to the American president's actions not previously planned. And the rhetoric itself is extremely unacceptable and unacceptable for Putin. So, for the Russian president, it is also important that the American won, without leading him to a united attack against Ukraine. It can be said that this is the head of the mind for further exploration of guilt. And in the mind of Putin, it is important to look like a true prince in the international arena. Rivni is not in appearance with Trump, but also with the head of the People's Republic of China by his main partner Xi Jinping, and extremely to the Prime Minister of India on the render fashion. We were all balk. I'm talking to Putin about China's summit in the Security Council right now. I'm a good friend of his with Trump. Trump over the past year to received from states, and firm 11 Jinping with a bag with Trump, clearly no warehouse led around Trump. Will come to the People's Republic of China, the greatest hour, the greatest of obtaining the head of state of the perk. The Prime Minister of India has the same difficult situation. I have come across juice tariffs for imperious more economical. It is possible even before the post-production, before the received states, and I am not actually for meeting the American president either. And Putin is a favorite of different Trump. Trump splashing in Dolo, the Russian president, I can get out of the imperious flying at the airfield at Anchorage. Well, extremely in celebrating the expression, and on Xi Jinping, and on the render fashion, and on the sweet. And PPR Cola Trump says that the Russian president, having disappointed him, that his bags with Putin did not produce real results. The fact that the president's goal with the received states is to boycott the American-Russian leader. So it happened with American President Joseph Biden. Putin again, I will not be present about the higher Lisa of light politics. And it is not like stepping on the positions of the dropped forces of Ukraine, without complaining to the Russian president about the adoration of light knowledge, the adoration of Xi Jinping's Western partner, of the wired powers of the global pill. Adoration is not greedy at the side of the car boycott of European leaders, yaks from the Kremlin's point of view. Look with the pro-Russian pygmies in that part of the President of the Russian Federation in May to discuss holy problems, and with the President of the United States, and with the head of the People's Republic of China. So we have the truth for today. The greatest is not for Putin. The prices are that Trump is changing his henchmen to Russian-Ukrainian guilt. We have not yet beaten greedy concrete politicians, not rhetoric. And there are no bright real guarantees that we will not visit the widow yet. The greatest and for Putin is his honed. And this is also Trump. I will not dilute the Russian president. Don't forget about him and Trump's partner's recent telephone divorces and adoration of the TikTok predicate. You, the head of the People's Republic of China, is a kind of economical, and, I would say, politic to Jacob, Putin. And so will sail it to install Russian-Ukrainian vein. Diakuyu. Inflate on the topic of the channel. On its social on the Patreon channel, it helps to develop these resources. The function of the sponsorship itself.